All right, let's talk about landing a job at BlackRock. If you've got your sights set on them, you already know it's one of the toughest mountains to climb in all of finance. But what if you had the playbook? Well, today, we're going to break down the insider's guide to cracking their code, and we're using advice straight from the source.
Okay, let's start with a quick dose of reality. The acceptance rate for BlackRock's early career programs, it's less than 3%. I mean, just let that sink in. A number like that tells you right away that a standard cookie-cutter application just isn't going to cut it. The stakes are, well, they're incredibly high.
So, what does that less than 3% actually look like in raw numbers? Well, last year, 60,000 people applied for just 1,500 spots. And that's globally. That is the crowd you need to stand out from. And to do that, you're going to need a lot more than just a good resume. You need a real competitive edge.
Yeah, it's basically an elite gauntlet. But look, facing odds like these isn't about getting intimidated, it's about getting prepared. And that preparation, it all starts with understanding exactly what the gatekeepers are looking for.
So where do we get this playbook, right? We go directly to the source. We're going to pull back the curtain using insights from the man who literally runs the entire process. Nigel Williams, BlackRock's head of talent acquisition. This is the real deal.
And what Williams says, his entire core philosophy, really just boils down to two words: prove it. See, it's not enough to just say you're good, you have to show it with concrete, specific examples. And this one simple idea, it's the foundation for absolutely everything that follows.
So this is the strategy he lays out, and it's built on 4 key pillars. You've got deep research, a killer personal pitch, specific examples to back it up, and strategic outreach. So let's break down each one.
All right, let's dive into those first 2 pillars. This is the foundational work, right? It's all about knowing the company inside and out, and knowing the story you need to tell about yourself. Okay, so pillar 1, research. But what does deep research actually mean? Look, it's not about being able to recite their stock price. Williams says it's about really understanding the company's culture. For a place like BlackRock, that means a huge emphasis on relationship building. I mean, that's the core of asset management, right? You're managing people's futures. It also means knowing about their big push into new tech, like AI. And this isn't just trivia, you guys. This is the context for your entire application.
Now, once you know them, you can start to craft your pitch. And a good way to think about this is less like a speech and more like a formula. It's simple, really. It combines what you value, plus what you're really good at, plus how you've used those skills to solve actual problems. That combination, that's your pitch. It's basically your entire professional identity in 30 seconds.
Ultimately, that pitch needs to answer 3 key questions. First, who are you at your core? Second, what are you uniquely good at? And third, can you talk about a time you faced a real challenge and came out on top? A clear, confident answer to these 3 things, well, that's what separates a memorable candidate from a forgettable one.
Okay, so you've done the research, you've built your pitch, now what? Now we get to the pillars that turn all that preparation into a real opportunity, providing proof and making connections.
And this right here perfectly illustrates the difference. That weak statement, I'm a good team player and problem solver. That's what, like 90% of applicants say. It's generic, it's forgettable. But the strong statement, that tells a story. It gives you context, it describes an action, and it shows a measurable result. This is exactly what Nigel Williams is talking about when he says, be specific.
And finally, pillar 4, do not apply in a vacuum. Williams makes a huge point of this. He says that many, not just some, but many of the successful applicants reach out and connect with someone at the firm before they even interview. And look, this isn't just about old-school networking. It's about showing initiative. It's about getting that first-hand insight into the culture that you've already spent so much time researching.
Okay, so let's say you followed the playbook. You nailed it, and you landed the interview. Congratulations. But what happens next? Let's take a look at the final hurdles on the path from applicant to analyst. The process pretty often starts with what's called a one-way HireVue interview. That's where you're recording your answers to prompts on video. And you gotta know, the questions aren't just gonna be technical. Williams says he really wants to know what makes people tick. So they're gonna ask you to reflect on challenges, what you learned, what you might have done differently. Basically, they're testing for self-awareness. And if you make it all the way through to the summer internship, what's the payoff? Well, it's huge. Get this. Around 75% of BlackRock's interns get an offer to come back as a full-time analyst after they graduate. So the internship isn't just some line on your resume. It's the single best pathway to a job there. You know, following those 4 pillars gets you in the game, for sure. But what gives you the winning edge?
Let's talk about the qualities that can push a great application over the top, into that must-hire category.
So beyond the core stuff, BlackRock is really looking for well-rounded talent. What does that mean? It means showing you're fluent with modern tools, like AI and prompting. It means proving you have those strong interpersonal skills for that whole relationship-building culture we talked about. And they really value engagement outside the classroom. They even highlight that they've had great success hiring student athletes. The big takeaway here is, they're not just hiring a GPA.
So there you have it. The blueprint isn't really a secret, is it? It's a clear, actionable strategy for telling your unique story in the most powerful way possible. The playbook is in your hands now. The only question left is, what story will you tell?